Well, these stairs are pretty much the same as they were when I first came here in 1951, but that's all that looks familiar. When I was first came to school, we had a kitchenette type downstairs where we could go and eat, and we used to come down these stairs around the corner, and the stairs continued on down to this basement level. When I first entered the building, I came up those stairs, and there were walls, and this was a long hallway. There was another wall here where the second classroom was, and beyond that was the third classroom. When I first came into this school, this classroom was a square with windows, I believe. This wall here was not there. And this classroom and that classroom were the only two that were finished and usable. The third classroom across the hall was just an empty shell of a room. In 1951, this was the girls' bathroom. That was the boys' bathroom. And this was the end of the building as far as what was originally here. I came to this school in 1951 as a first grader. It was the first year this building was open as a school. And I remember going to the Hollow School for the visitation day, which we had in June of the year before I started school. Cindy Carpenter, who was a friend of mine, could bring a student who was about to come into school with her for a day. So she was going to the Hollow School, and I got to go with her. And I fully expected to go back to school there in September. But they said no, we were coming here, they were ready for us. So here I am.
And
many years later.
This room that we're looking at, what was the use of this room when you first came here in 51?
The first and second graders were in here. And that wall was mostly blackboard. And above it was the alphabet in script. And I can remember that. And the teacher's desk was over this way, I believe. And the chairs, or the desks, ran this way. So we had our backs to the window. There was one teacher, Olive Evans was my teacher, and we started off the morning with the flag salute and the morning prayer. And then, I don't exactly remember the order, but we would have reading, and she would give an assignment to one of us, either the first or the second grade, and I think maybe it swapped off from week to week. And while she was working with them, we would have an assignment that we needed to do at our desks. And then once she finished with them, she'd switch over to us. We had recess together, we had lunch together, we had a reading time afterwards where she always read a story to us, chapter a day or so. And we had an afternoon recess, and then we're excused. I think that the story hour that we had right after lunch was one of the high points of the day, because I was somebody who was really interested in learning how to read, and I had been read to at home, so I was aware of some of the books that she had, and I think everybody enjoyed it. There were probably a few naps taken during that time. I don't remember exactly.
Again, my question about the second graders doing one thing while the first graders,
Right.
and assuming that one group was having a group activity and the other one was on a chore at their desks,
Right.
was it a disruption?
So one thing about being two classes in the room, we could overhear what the teacher was saying for the other class. So if we had a project, like maybe we needed to write the alphabet out or print it at that point, at our desk while she was doing a reading or an arithmetic class with the second graders, if we finished early, it was fun to sit and listen to her. I think it helped us learn as much as it worked. To me, it didn't bother me because I didn't know any different. I grew up in a house with 6 kids, so there was always confusion. This room was basically an empty shell when I first came. I think there was subflooring down, but I think there was a pile of flooring in the middle of the room. And the windows, of course, were all in and finished. I believe the blackboard was up, but I'm not sure. And it was just waiting for somebody to come in and, you know, finish it off so that it could be used. And when I came back for 2nd grade, it had been completed, and I think 6th, 7th, and 8th grade kids were in here at this time.
So 1st and 2nd grade stayed together,
Right.
and you assume
I have-
3rd and 4th in the other large classroom.
Right.
That's your memory. anyway.
Possibly 5th, I'm not sure.
Okay, 3, 4, and 5.
Right.
And then when you came back the following year, this was again?
This was in use, and the upper grades were in here. And I believe the teacher's name was Mr. Keene, Keane, I believe it was spelled, because he was the first male teacher I had ever seen. Okay. In January of my 5th grade year, I was in this classroom for I was in this classroom for half a year, and then bussed over starting in January to West Dummerston for the rest of my 5th grade and all of my 6th grade, I believe, and then came back here for 7th and 8th grade.
So what was going on at West Dummerston? It had its own school?
Prior to the classes being switched around that year, yes, they had their own school for the west side and all 8 grades in what is now the community center over there.
So you're talking roughly, not precisely, we can look it up later, but 1955, maybe 56.
In that general time, yes.
There stopped being 2 separate schools, one for West Dummerston, one for East Dummerston.
Right. As far as the students went, the school in West Dummerston was used, but for only, I believe, the younger kids, and the older ones were over here. But I don't remember for sure. I know I was here half of my 5th grade year, all of my the rest of the 5th grade, and my 6th grade year I was over in West Dummerston, and I came back here for 7th and 8th grade with Ernie Clark.
So that would be older students in the West Dummerston school. If you're 5th and 6th grade, where were 7 and 8?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Okay.
7th and 8th grade, I think, were here in this classroom. I think they bussed us both ways.
When we moved here in 1970, kindergarten was here with Mary Carnahan, and they did 1st, 2nd, 3rd grade over there. They had classes in the basement of the community center.
Is by your time,
Yeah.
West Dummerston School was no longer a separate entity,
That's right.
but it was educating the younger students, with the exception of kindergarten.
That was
Kindergarten was in this building,
Mhm.
and then
One,
1st, 2nd, 3rd grade were in the West Dummerston
Fourth.
School.
Okay, when I was in this classroom, there were, in this building, 8 grades. I believe 2 downstairs and 6 upstairs.
1st grade through eighth grade. And no kindergarten
No
existed.
kindergarten. No. When I started school here, I believe there were either 8 or 9 students in my class in the first grade, and there was probably 10 or so second graders. So even though there were 2 classes in the same room, we weren't packed in tight. It was, we had room to move around and play. We had a play corner, I believe. And so by the time I graduated from 8th grade, there were 12 of us. When I was here, we came down the stairwell from the classrooms and entered here, which was a big square room, and that was the cafeteria. This was the kitchen and dining area when I was here. They've changed this area a little bit. The sink was against this wall, I believe, and then the refrigerator was over there. There was a counter where they would put the food out, and then we did cafeteria style and filled our plates, and then went and sat at tables like this. When I came to the school, they utilized this as an all-purpose room. There was a stage at the further end that we could do skits and plays. There were chairs set up in one corner. I believe it was a corner, but it may not have been, for the upper grade students as a classroom. I can remember coming with my folks to PTA meetings here, and those were held in the all-purpose room.
At some point, this whole basement area, and particularly this room, could not be used as a multi-purpose room because the law changed so that children could not be down in a basement. So it just became a storage area.
There was no driveway or parking anywhere in front of the building except for a single road that the school bus used to use. What few teachers we had parked sort of wherever. Coming out here, we had room for a baseball or volleyball or badminton or whatever we happened to have put out. And we played dodgeball, and there was 2 basketball hoops behind the school that the older kids would use to play, to toss baskets. There was a swing. I think there was 1, 2, 3, at least 3 sets of swings on the further side where we could play. There was a big sandbox and a jungle gym type thing. We had a swing set. It was wooden. It was made with like telephone pole type things. And in each section there were 2 swings, so I think we had a total of 6 swings. The basketball hoop was just around the corner and on a flat spot. All of this was just lawn. There was nothing, no picnic tables or anything that I remember. I don't even know if the school owned that whole property or not, but it was a fairly simple spot.
We've just entered the first addition to the old school, and at that time this would have been the 5th grade. This room is pretty much as it was. This was the 5th grade room. This was the home of Gene Shaw for many, many years.
Yep.
Coat closets for the students, now being used for something else.
Yep.
These were chalkboards, of course, and
Yes,
they've been
they were.
replaced by whiteboards. But this room is pretty much just as you see it.
Yep.
This would have been the 6th grade. And this was the 6th grade room. Now it's been chopped up, as you can see, but it used to go from that door to this door.
Yeah.
That it's identical to the 5th grade room. Sink, drinking water, closet, In the old days, the chalkboard up there. Mrs. Ives moved in here. This, my first teaching room in 1972
Yeah.
in
This
the
was
principal's fourth grade office. room.
Was Mrs. Ives' room?
That became the fourth grade. So there's your fourth grade. That's the principal's office. What did you say? There's
no room in there.
no room in there. It's a closet. And just as you see it, she had a little desk in there. It was too hot. She liked to keep the door open.
Yeah.
And there's a window here off to the right. That was Irene Cody's office. That was in 1972. Girls' facility. Boys' facility. Second entranceway into the sixth grade. And as we cross this line, we're stepping out of the first edition into the second, yes? Seventh grade. Across the hall, if you can envision a wide hallway instead of this door, this was the main entrance to the school just beyond here. And it was a double door, sidewalk outside. This was an open hallway to the main door of the school. And that's it. So this was the extremity of the first edition, and together with a wall that was here, it made a hallway, and that's where everybody exited the school.
Yeah.
At least this part of the school.
Yeah.
And stood out on the sidewalk in the afternoon waiting for the bus. Well, you know, we did duty out there. And this part of the school, in the original design of this edition, was to be left incomplete, to be used on a need basis as time warranted going forward. That's what we were told. We were surprised when we saw that a principal's office was built right there. That window was the window to the principal's office. That's where Art's office was. He was the first one to occupy it, Art Avery. And the rest of this, take that wall away.
Yeah.
The rest of this was the library. Now they've added a cinder block wall, and on the other side it's all divided up into specialty areas.
Yeah, and this
I
is
don't
a
know
special.
what they're used for
This
now.
is
Yeah.
a whole district specialty area here now.
And the reason I remember that quite well is Art left in late February, maybe early March. I'm guessing late February. And the school board asked me if I would be the acting principal for the rest of the year. That was '84. On your right, with this addition, a new library, second door on the left to the 7th grade classroom, still the library and principal's office on the right, 8th grade classroom on the left, and then into the multi-purpose room. Bathrooms on the left for 6th, 7th, and 8th grade girls, on the right, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade boys. Today, any gender bathrooms on the left, grades 3 and 4, on the right, grades 5 through 8. Custodian's closet in the middle. Kitchen and serving areas left and right. kitchen, very much as it was. In the day. This is the door at the end of the multi-purpose room. And before the 1994 edition, you were now outside on grass. We're now into the 1994 edition. The new main entranceway. Multi-purpose room to the left. Principals and other offices, nurse, etc. to the right. The nice brick on the left is the outside of the multi-purpose room. Display case.
Library.
And the library on the right. Here's a display case. Second entranceway to the multi-purpose room. And you can see the outside brick facade of the old edition. Now again the new classrooms, lockers, a first in Dummerston school history, classroom,
That's the art room, I think. And this is the music room.
music, toilet facilities, classroom, and the two last classrooms in the 1994 edition. And that's it. As the French would say, c'est tout.